Hello everybody, this is Luby from Dimension. Welcome to our third video in our series Application Development for Startups. So today we're talking about the concept. In our previous videos I talked with you about the overview, like how you can come from an idea to a software business by dividing all the steps in the whole process in little steps, and therefore reducing the effort and easier coming from step to step to achieve your goals. Last time we talked about the idea evaluation. We did a lot of groundwork for the concept, and today we will dig more deeply into the concept and check what for we needed. So the thing we're trying to discuss in this video is like, what is a concept and why do we need it? What elements will we analyze, and also what is the outcome based on our example that we started last week. The example was my idea for a mock-up for a wireframe, a digital tool application that helps you to make wireframes and make it more easier for you to design your applications or my applications. This will be the example that we are basing our concept on. So everything that I tell you about the concept, how to deal with the concept, I will show it directly on this example. So let's start, and like every time I want to address this to you, start right from the beginning with documenting everything. It will help you a lot, because if you write everything down, it will really reduce your effort, because you don't have to do it twice. As you will see, we have a lot of last time used an Excel, had a lot of information already done, and now we can use it for our concept. And today I will do everything in PowerPoint. Also, I will provide this PowerPoint online so you can download it and use it also. So let's start with the concept and why do we need it. So the concept definition is to manage the evolution of your app actively and not to react on things. A lot of people are right away starting with building the app. So people think first only of their app and where to put the buttons, like, oh, I have this idea, I have to do it like this. But the problem is, you're surprised when it does not fit important factors like finance, investors, effort, and a lot of other problems that people are facing, because the app is an entity that automatically interacts with the environment. So if you have an app out there, it will cost you effort and money. You have legal regulations, you have time restrictions, you have advertising things to think of, and you will see that this all thing affects really impacts a lot how your app is built. And what people, the first mistake is they're starting to building it, then afterwards discover that there are other influences, and then have to do a lot of effort to replace or undo their first mistakes and rebuild and adjust their application. So the thing I want to say is, like, yeah, building is one major thing of your application, but also there is advertising, there's finance, there's other things. So if you think of building an app, you think more like of managing all these processes to get your application, to get your software down on the market. And the plan that helps you to manage is the concept. So in the concept, all your thoughts about advertising, finance, the customers, and then respectively in the end the concept for building it are summarized here. And all this summarization, all the thought you have about it will help you a lot later to build your app. And it is a summarize. So the concept is a summarize of how we want to manage your app business for date zero, so from the start point to 5 years, and on what your current and future decisions are based on. So this will help you a lot to manage your whole business and build a better app, and be also prepared to achieve your goals that you want to achieve with your application. So what is the concept? What are the main ingredients of the concept? So first, you have a 360-degree overview over the whole app business environment. So this is like your location. where's the status quo? Where am I? What do I want? What are the resources I have? What are the requirements, and so on. Then you have the goals. What do you want to achieve in 5, 2 years, 1 year, and so on. You have like a plan, the strategy, how to get to this goal, how to achieve the goals, what risks to expect, and so on. And everything is summarized in a concept. So you can see how really valuable this concept will be, because when you have all the thoughts, what is the market, where is my current situation, what I want to achieve, and what is the plan to achieve it, and you have written it all down, it will help you a lot to build a better requirement and to build a better application and start really more confident in the whole business you want to exceed in the next years. So also there's not only this dimension, but there's only like 3 additional dimensions. That's the present, the future, and the different scenarios. Because if you have all of this, you think always of the present. But you have also think, like I said, of the future, like what will happen in 2 years, what will happen in 5 years, but also not what will happen in 5 years, but also think about additionally what are different scenarios. So, for example, what are the scenarios if I don't get an investor? Where will I be? If I get some investment, where will I be? So you don't have to really write it exactly in a document with 500 pages, but take a short look, an additional page on a PowerPoint only thinking about 2 or 3 scenarios will help you a lot dealing with all the risks that could be problem in the future. And all this that you have thought of and are based in the concept will help you a lot much more to build a better application, and also to really get it started and successful in the ways you think it should be working. Also, I want to say that everything affects everything. So you don't have to think like, oh, I'm doing what is the current situation, and when I'm finished it's done, and then I do the goals. This is more an interactive process. You start with the one, think of the next, and see, oh my god, oh my gosh, I forgot a lot of things that perhaps in a current situation I have to adjust. You adjust it, then you adjust again the goals, you make your plan and adjust everything. So it's always like everything is interacting with everything, and so you have to do it. So what elements will we have to analyze? So there are a bunch of things you can read. There's a lot of literature about business plans, about what is your concept needing. So don't hesitate, and also do some additional work in the internet. You find a lot of good articles about this, a lot of documentary about it. I put in some things that I like to think of that it's easier for me, but also you can add additional things. It's not a problem, or leave other things out you think of it's not important for now. It's not a problem, I want to say this, to have in the beginning blank sides. So start it, fill up what you're comfortable to do, but if you do a little bit more, 10 minutes, 15 minutes on a subject, and don't leave it blank, it will help you a lot more. Because like I said earlier, digging in perhaps half an hour or 15 minutes in one subject will give you a lot of first information that will already help you, and more help you, but to only ignore it and skip it. So the first thing we want to look is the market. Then we will take to the application view, then the business view, and then the other aspects. So what I'm saying, a lot of people are always starting with the application view and neglecting a little bit the market, and getting later to the market, and then seeing, there's a lot of relevant information that I could already use for the application. So my thing is, start always with the market. First, think of the competitors, if there are competitors, because you will get already a lot of information from them that will help you to build and improve your application. Check the technology and innovation. Are you really that good in this technology, and do you understand everything? Check it again. It's also helping you to understand the core basics for your software. Think of the customers. The most important thing, the customers always key. What are his problems? What are the solutions you're providing? How do your customers think? What are their life situation, and so on. Then the market categorization will help you later with the strategy. This is something that's nice, but not so much important. And also goals, values, and images are really big and important thing. It don't cost much time, but will help you first to know how much effort and how much you can you put in your how much effort you should put in this application, and what you can expect. And also values and image will help you to guide all your business decisions. So it will help you a lot to decide if this decision is really appropriate to your values and images, and it helps your goals. So it's a good measurement and gives you a good range in which you can make your decisions. So after this, we're checking the application view. We'll check the customer problems. We will derive unique select proposition, and this problems and unique select proposition will take to the application idea. We will also figure all the things that are necessary, although they perhaps not unique selling points. I mean, if you, for example, take Tesla and you think about their cars, their major difference is the electric motor and the batteries. But still, they have to think of other usual cars that are normally for a car: a wheel, wheels, seats, and so on. And don't forget it, we have to do the process analysis to get in the end to the functionalities, and after functionalities we know what are the MVPs and what we really have to build later in the requirements. Help a lot. After this, we will check, we know the market, we know the application, we will check the resources that we will need to build everything, and then we will take time and check the name, the logo, the advertising themes, the finance and the strategy, and in the end think about the stakeholders and the legal aspects. So already, like I said, the concept is not something that is started and finished. It's always a living concept that will change after time, but also that is always interactive. You start with the strategy, you see you've missed something out, go back and change the application idea, change, and then the competitors. It's really not important. The thing is that you gain more information and know-how during this process, and you will see, if you start with, how much you will learn about the process, how much you will know about the market, and how much it will help you to improve your concept and then later your application. So the thing is, how much effort should you take in? And it's a really easy equation, because if you start with the first analyze, check always later in the application view, is this information enough to go on? And if you say, yeah, it's enough, I think that's it, I can start and build a good application, and there will be no major change in the whole process and in the functionalities I want to build, then start. If you say, I'm not sure, I'm not sure if this is important, if this is important, perhaps this I can leave out, then take a step back, check again all the competitors, think about the customers, and re-evaluate until make this rounds so many times that until you're like pretty sure 80% what to build. Still, I have to say it's not like talking about 3 years. I'm talking about like investing 1 week, like one full day over 1 week or 2 weeks or max 3 weeks, but you don't bother yourself more than 3 weeks, because in some point you will see, after you made your research, you're rethinking, you have gathered a lot of information, and afterwards really more details. So I think after 2-3 weeks, 2 or 3 days invested in investigation, it's more enough to start a business. So, and how to go then on with the concept. After you've made a first concept, you have two ways. First, improve the concept over time, if you like. So you started one day, invested in January, in February, take 2 hours and adjust it, and you will see after some time you will have a really good concept, because also the world is not changing so fast. So there after 6 months or 4 months, there are not every day new competitors. So you can start, do a first analyze, and then month by month take every competitor by itself and check him and give them more details and more information that you can use, and you will see after some time you'll have a really good concept and data to justify your business. So also the other thing is, like, you can make a concept and then build your app and do the business and wait for changes, so for some shocks, perhaps a new competitor or something, and only if a change is occurring, then check your concept and make it. So it means it can happen like 8 months is nothing happen, and then you see something is changing, a new information, and then you resize, you evaluate your concept and check what's impacting your business. So after this, let's start with the market, and let's start with the competitors. So here is the first step. We can already use our information from the idea evaluation. So take all the first competitors and try to learn more about them. So the first thing we want to do is, why we do this is because we want to improve our new application and be better than the competitors. So first to have a better solution, or at least have a better marketing for it, because that's the biggest advantage you have if you're the first follower or an early follower. You see already the major problems perhaps, or the mistakes that the other companies have done, and you can improve your product and deliver a better product, or perhaps a better campaign that will help you gain more people than the others. So there are a lot of things you can use to analyze your competitors' products and features. What features are they doing? What are advantages, disadvantages? What are their unique selling proposition? What relevant features could be unique? What is their pricing? What are their messages and channels, and how do you advertise them? What services do they offer? Are there some what is their image? What customers are they using? Complaints, market share, shareholders, company data. You can use all this, analyze your competitors, and extract a lot of information for your own business. So in the first step, you will say, oh my gosh, there's such a lot of attributes. It will take me months to analyze everything of that. And here I can say, no, it's a little bit more easier, because you don't have to do the same accuracy for every competitor, but there are competitive levels. So there's first level, and if you think of your application is more like a problem fixing tool, and you have one customer group, then a first level competitor is somebody who has the same solution for the same group, and similar problem fixing for similar customer group, and having a similar solution is not so important. Perhaps there is gray or brown or something different, but this is the most key comparison factor. If you see they're targeting the same problem for the same group, then you know this is a first level competitor. Then you have to check it directly in a short term and try to be better in some way, or different in something that is really key value to your target group. Second level competitors have similar problem fixing, but can have similar problem fixing for the same group, or they can have the same fixing tool but for other groups. And this is something that is not a threat directly. For example, you can see, if you see Rolls-Royce and you see Toyota, in the first aspect you say, okay, there are two car companies, they have the same, they have a high competition, but in the second thought you see that they are not competing in the same categories, because Rolls-Royce is targeting people, really rich people with high-end products, and Toyota is going for the mass market. So they are not really in direct competition. So it's not a huge threat, but observe them, learn from them in the middle term, and see what your insights can help you to improve and be better than your first level competitors. Potential substitutes are something like they have different application, they have a different kind of problem fixing tool for your customer group, and this is like something in the long term that can be a threat later. So for example, is a really thing. I mean, flying and driving by car are some competition, but they are really wide ranged from each other. But still, in 10-15 years, if you think about that, there are flying cars, this competition can be much more heavy. So in the long run, 10-15 years, there can be a competition between cars and aviation, because flying cars can intersect with the or with the other. So what we now have to do is like take our competitor, the application from our competitor, and try to do it in first level, second level, and third level. And you will say, oh my god, but still it's a lot to do, because all this information, I have first to check all the information and then check if it's first, second, or third level. So it's not helping me, especially if you think that all this information here is easy to acquire, and here this information is getting much more difficult. But it's really a good thing, because you can think of this, all this hard to acquire information is already taken in consideration by those competitors in their product, in their price, in their advertising. So this is impacting the advertising, the products, unique selling points, and also this. So in the end, what I want to say, if you check for this, only this three attributes for competitors, you can see that if they're equally, then you know it's a competitor, and you can make a assumption that the chances are high that they're also similar here and also similar here, so you don't have to analyze everything. And so my proposition is start generating a list of possible competitors by using internet research like we did in the ID evaluation. Then quick analyze for products, unique selling points, and price only. It will take you not long, maximum 2 hours. And if you have this information, categorize them. It's only half an hour, think about it, and then only analyze the first primer, that have a thing on that, and derive direct implication for your concept and your application. And if you have time later, also take some effort in this. So now I want to start with the example. Like I said, I want to build a digital mockup tool, and like in the ID evaluation, we already saw there is competition for wireframe digital tools. And I listed like 10 or 7 or 8 competitors. And now what I want to do is make the first analysis. And what I did is really, I started with the product and features. And I saw they have a lot of library elements and have every advanced feature. They are similar seemingly in their things, but I saw already there are some high-end products or competitors that have a little bit more to suit, and their solutions seem a little bit more professional than the others. So there was like a first distinguishing between the products and features and the thing and the quality that it looked like. Also, I checked the unique selling proposition, and everybody agreed on one thing: work together. That was a key major thing about every wireframe tool builder. But there were different, some saying no color, other quick usage, other about the reusability, interactive, big library, make processes, some additional features they were doing, but they were already similar. And most recent thing was work together, share your mockups, and it will help you in your collaboration. Price was really different. I didn't saw anybody of those competitors building really free. They're starting at 0, but they have 30-day trials, and then they start from $8 to $10 a month based on 3 or 4 projects, and going like to $199 a month, and much more for the more pricey things. And so this already helped me to make a distinguishing between some of the competitors. So I think Pencil, Wireframe, Mockingbird are really here in the group that are really direct competitors, because they target they're most similar to my ideas. Balsamic mockups I also put in, although they already are some kind of more professional to me, so I wasn't sure in the beginning. And Adobe and mockups, they're far away. So even, I mean, I would spend really a lot of budget and effort to come close to this thing. So they're really second level, and they seem to me to target really the high-end professional customers. And also I thought of potential substitution, and I thought of iPad and Samsung pencils, and also tablet apps for drawing, because in I think 3 or 4 or 5 years that will be also a major thing. I mean, why do you need a mockup tool when you already perhaps can draw directly on your iPad, and the iPad drawing is perhaps transformed in some mockups. So this is also some threat that will come in 5, 4, 6 years. So this is the current situation. What I then did is image and advertising, only necessary information. So what I saw is a difference here in this thing, especially Wireframe, Mockingbird, are more like giving you information as the need to know. So it's really the least information you can get that's really necessary to do it. They're more like an attempt, start, use it, see how it's good, and then start it. Balsamic and Pencil are getting some more information, but in this analyze, I saw already that Balsamic also is more advanced in their communication than the others. And when I analyzed the customers in the end, or thought of them, I saw that Balsamic has a lot of big companies who are replacing. And you can see in this example how you can start and think of one competitor being the first level, then making a little bit more effort and seeing this another. So I put it down because they have a lot of customers, big customers around the world, so I'm really not competing to them. So in the end, what I want to say is this Pencil, Wireframe, Mockingbird, these are some of my first level competitors, and I looked a little bit more quietly on them and tried to compete with them, because I think the others are targeting much more enhanced and professional customers that are willing to pay $100 or $50 or $150 a month for a solution, and this is really not my customer base. So you see so what I want to say, you see how much information you can get already from analyzing this. And even I thought I take a greater look at the products and features and took those already into account, made a really big list to summarize all the features they have, so I can also use it for my feature list. So you can see how much you can take from this first analysis of competitors. So what I wanted to tell you about technology and innovation is, right, it's more like a must-have. So basic technology for your app and your usage is a must in the short run. I mean, it's like you want to like Elon Musk, you want to start to build cars. You cannot start if you don't understand what's the basic technology in for cars. So in the short run, you have to know this. In some technology standard in a wider range should be known in the wide range. I mean, if you start to want to build cars later, it's perhaps not bad to know about advanced engineering techniques and so on that can improve your wide range. But in the last thing, in the long run, it's nice to notice also innovation and game changers. So what is this basic technology? It's not about, in a software application, you don't have to know, do not know about programming, but the difference between some software languages, systems, user interface, and so on, you should know, because this is your butter and bread business, because you have to know when to go with Java or PHP or Salesforce or whatever technology, C# you're using, HTML. So this is your decision. You have to know it, and you can take some first basic information from YouTube, Google, and read as much as possible to understand the technology behind it and implications and the advantages and disadvantages. And if you're really high involved, then you can also start with special magazines, blogs, fairs, conventions, speak to influencers to get much more additional information. So this is a must, especially here. What you can do for technology standards is like keep your eyes open, increase usage of other applications, see what other software is doing. If you're working in a company using software, I mean, you're doing it like using PowerPoint, check it, why are they good? Try to analyze them and take some additional information for your application that you can also use. Everything you see could be a good source for new ideas and creativity for your application. And this is something in the long run, ears and eyes open, always check on what will happen, so that in advance, in 2 or 3 years, you're prepared if something like artificial intelligence is coming, or blockchain, or whatever is now talked about. So for this, I don't have any example, because I think I know my business, and so I don't have to go through this example. So after we talked about the competitors and technology standard, it's time to think about the customers. And what we already done in the idea evaluation, the first step, is we make a rough check on our first target of a first customer group that we would like to address. We thought about gender, age, and so on. And then what we now will do is try to adjust them and go more deeply in them. And how we'll do it? We'll do it by trying to use this homogeneous group and try to make it more heterogeneous. Try to make from this heterogeneous group one more homogeneous group that are easier. So it's a really easy example. If you said, for example, that your group will be only men. So man is a really big heterogeneous group, so you can divide in more homogeneous groups. So groups that are more equal, but not more equal in thinking about, they're more equal like, oh, these are young or old men, but thinking about the attributes that describe the difference for your application. So if age is not really a thing, a differentiator for your application, then it's not worth dividing it. For example, if you said, okay, I want to make an app for people for children that are between 5 and 6, it is not something to split your group and say, okay, my future customers, I want to look more what is the difference between 5, 4, and 6. Because perhaps they're really similar to this toy, and 5, 4, 6 is practically the same. Perhaps there's a difference between boys and girls, or there's a difference in where they're raised, or they're going to kindergarten or staying at home. So you can see you're trying to take all this group and try to separate it and use different attributes, behavior, technique, usage to distinguish them and then to describe them better. Because first you have one thing, and now you try to describe them better, and with this better insight of every of this heterogeneous group, you will gain a lot of information and better information how to address advertising, how to improve your application. So in my example, like I started with 20 to 40 years, developers, product managers, UX students, investors, and hobby developers worldwide that can use my wireframe mockup tool. So this is something that was my first guess, and I think it was pretty good, but now I want to go more in detail, more groups, and what I thought is, okay, the first group I want to divide is students, because students are really different from freelancers, and freelancers are different from hobby developers. So why are they different? Because I think there's a really different approach to this to these customers that are students, because they're 20 to 25. They have really different work and living situation that really divides them. Also, especially work situation that divide the usage of the wireframe tool. Also, I think if you're developer, product manager, UX, there can be some difference, but for me it's like neglectable, because in my thinking or my assumption is that if you want to make an application, it's not important who is doing the requirements. A UXler, a product manager, developer, you want to draw down your idea and make a good mock-up wireframe that is later used. So this is the thing you want to make, and every of these groups want to make this as good as possible. But what's still a difference is the thing about non-commercial and commercial. So also there's a difference between freelance and hobby developers, because freelancers are doing their jobs in this field as for commercial purpose, and hobby developers not. So there are main two distinguish, and I think Belgrade and Munich, so the location is not so important, because I think they think really the same. So the major thing I want to make more my target group, my target customers more precise is like thinking about students, because they're a lot of younger, have different working situations, so different usage situation for my application. But also about the thing commercial and non-commercial, because there's also a different usage, because for people that are using such wireframes, they're commercial, not commercial. So this is the thing I wanted to do, and what I did now, I put it on a list, and also tried then to describe it. One thing I want to ask to add to you, I always put in here, right, the time it took me to do this. So like I said in the beginning, it took me like, for example, here I only want to go back in this example for the customers, it took me like 30 minutes to do this all analyze. I opened all the 5 sites, checked it for the competitors analysis, and it took me 30 minutes to write everything down and have this first estimation. So it's not a lot of time. So if we go on in the presentation, and we are now here, it took me 20 minutes to divide these 3 groups, and it's not like doing, it's more like thinking about it, resizing, working out some different possibilities, and then convincing me that this is the right thing to group them like this. And the last thing is, it took me like 30 minutes to describe the situation. What I want to describe like students, because what's the difference to students? Students have more temporary projects, so they're not like freelancers working every day and every week and some projects, and they know they will come. They have perhaps in their lifetime 4 or 5 times in this 4 years or 3 years, the student have perhaps works to do some such applications, and the need for some tool. It must be quick and must be cheap, because they don't have a lot of resources. They have also the thing they want to share it, because they're working with other team members or the professor in university. They need basic functionalities and flexibility, because it's really new stuff, and that's the first users. So they do not need something really advanced. They need the basic functionality to start with it. They do not have a lot of repetition in their work. They do it one time, and then perhaps 6 or 8 months the next job, and then the next job. They have to have a lot of presentation to the professors or the university to judge them. They have less involvement, because they use it today, and if perhaps there's a lot of time between those usages, their involvement is not much high. They forget it and use perhaps something new. They have small financial resources, like I said. They're working on university laptops and own, so perhaps they have to share it one time on a university laptop and then bring it down on their tablet. they're working in teams, they're missing examples to rely on because they're new in the field. They can read about it and make a lot of research, but still they're not so experienced to have a lot of examples to use it. And what's difficult for them is also to explain their drawings and their mock-ups and wireframes because they're not so advanced now as they do. I mean, the students, they're still learning, beginning to learn, so you cannot expect to provide and explain and draw and make everything so clear like somebody who's drawing requirements and wireframes for 10 years. So it's a lot of difference here. So what's the difference to freelancers? They have a lot of parallel projects, they have many of them. It must be affordable. They have resources, but not so much. For them, the most thing is like time saver and quick access, because even students have a little bit more time and less pressure as you have it on the market if you have to deliver something in a quality in a time that's really short. You must have good help, and it must be intuitive for the beginning to start, so they're really under time pressure. They have a frequent access. If I start to using it and it's good, they're using it every day or every week. They're sharing different users and teams. It's a little more different than in this, because students have their team and perhaps their university. Here you can have like 8 or 10 different business organizations or stakeholders. You have to share your thing, so it has to be really for a broad audience. You're working with restricted data in many cases. Basic functionalities are interesting for the beginning, but after 3-4 weeks after using it, you will really come to the point where you start where they're searching for advanced information. They're working on laptop on their own and client laptops, and they really have a lot of examples to rely on because they had a lot of jobs and changed and reshaped a lot of it. So what are the hobby developers? And the hobby developers are, in my eyes, more like similar to the students, because rare access with many time periods between sessions. The only thing is different, they have a lot of income. So their income receivers, they're highly also IT affine, also are there, I think, the students. They're working mostly, but perhaps a little bit more higher because they're doing them for as a hobby. They're working mostly alone because they're developing their idea until it comes to share it. They need some basic functionalities, because if you're a hobby developer, an entrepreneur, you think about, like we said here, concept, legal things, a lot of things, not only about this. And so I think the basic functionalities are okay. They're also missing examples because they're doing it for the first time. They're more like entrepreneurs, and also it's difficult for them because they're starting with it to explain it. So you can see how different this people can be and their need for a wireframe application. So like I said, we now had described their living situation, and what we're trying to do is like make a comparison, what is similarities and what are differences. Because similarities, if you check them, it's really good. Similarities will help you to say, okay, there is a difference in all these groups, but some problems are linked to everybody. So if I use these problems, and these problems are really important for all these groups, I can use them as best because I will target a lot of customers. But also you have checked for differences, and you have know the difference, because if you focus on one group, you can perhaps have adding different USPs, or the approach how you're advertising will give you an advantage in every of these fields, instead of like going in and trying to make something blurry and not reaching anyone because you try to compromise and get everybody and losing everybody, instead of like saying, okay, I know with this advertising I will only win this gray customers, but I will win them, and not by using yellow advertising and losing everybody. So that's the thought of it. If we have differentiated, what you now try to do is looking at everything and trying to think of the value order. So you think what customer group will give you the most value if you succeed in this group. So you can sort them, and also think about it must not be the same, because what is the acquiring order? So there can be, for example, this group, this gray group, can be the one that is the most beneficial to the revenue, but still in the end it's perhaps the most it's the hardest group to acquire. So if you can see here, group 2 is perhaps less interesting for revenue, but you're so easy to acquire. So target group 2 is really a thing you have to think of, and you can see they're a little bit more bigger. So this is your key focus, although this could be much more in revenue. So that's the one case. So we order them and think about, okay, after thinking what's the most value, what are the acquired partners, you order them in the final ending and think of it, and then you extract the USPs and the problems, and based on them you have the order, and you know in which way later in a strategy how to address which group and how to advertise it. So in our comparison with our wireframe mockup, it took me also 20 minutes to do it. What are the similarities? So I've put it down. I think over all three groups, basic functions, flexibility to use is really important at the beginning for everybody. Start with small involvement is important for beginning anonymity, because I think this also, I'm a freelancer, I thought in the beginning really quick that the thing is mostly stopping me to start is like, are they trustworthy? What can I do with my information? Are they stealing it? Whatever, I don't want to register. Sharing and representable is something that is important for all three. Example to rely on, I think it's more interesting for students, hobby developers, but even for freelancers, not such a big thing, but still it's nice to have some ideas from other things. Working a lot with tablet, I think it's all for free. And difficulties the importance to explain it to other groups is important in three things, but in different sense. Students and hobby developers cannot good explain it because they're lacking the experience in the beginning, but freelancers having a problem that they have a lot of projects parallel, and perhaps they're lacking the time to explain everything in detail. So also if you have a lot of work, you also want something that is makes it for you easier to put it out, and it's self-explanatory, so people look at the wireframes, understand it much more quicker, and will also avoid a lot of work for you. What's a little bit the difference? Seldom usage for students, not much money, high recommendation. For other students, perhaps higher than the other ones because they're not so competitive. Working in different environments and not working with PowerPoint. I think students are perhaps more paper-based and tablet-based and not so focused on PowerPoint and Microsoft Office. Freelancers, more advanced settings after some time, frequent usage, classified data, working in different environments. Here, hobby developers, seldom usage, good financial situation, working from home, entrepreneurs, not working also with PowerPoint. And I think these are more the things that are different. You can see it's not such a science to distinguish, and this is a real hard cut. They are like overlapping things, but it's not so bad. You can still get a good picture of everything if you think of every group individually, what are the things. So what I now did, I thought about what are the highest benefit I can get, and I can get from developers, because why revenue? Because they have money and there are lots, and they're not they still are not so professional. So I can think that's a thing that and not so against advertising. So I think I can do a lot of more money with advertising here. Here students I think are good because they're also not against advertising in an application, and also this is a huge group that you can target. Very good freelancers. I think they have the most money, they're most interested, but the problem is if you start with registration, if you start with payment and so on, it's a little too complicated for me and too much effort in the beginning. So, and I think for them advertising something that perhaps will think of the solution or the wireframe tool as, oh my god, this is not serious, so I change to something different. So for the acquiring, I think it's a little bit different because I'm freelance. I know a lot of freelancers, so it's a little bit sad, but still students and hobby developers, in my opinion, not so far-fetched. I think the problem here is mostly how to target people that are hobby developers, startup builders and so on. This is something a little bit difficult, but you can do it. So in the end I will focus on hobby developers and students in the same way, and freelancers are much more to I think professional to address it with my tool. So after we more analyzed our customers more in detail, now we can think about the market categorization. And the thing is, we want to do is like market a place in which demand and supply meet. So this is really important because a lot of people think of potential customers are already the market, but they're not the market. Potential customers are only like a value for the potential. It's like the quantity, a potential market size that you can reach sometime. So the thing you want to think is like, okay, we know a potential customer size, so we know a potential market size, but what we're interested also the current market size. And for the current market size, you have two approaches to get to it. You can think about real users multiplied with the average price. How much users are there already in the market? What's the average price? So this will give you the current market size. And the second method is you think about all the competitors. If you take all the competitors and you can check how much are their revenues, you already know how much is the market size today, and then you only have to think what is the future market size. And what's the difference between the future market size and the potential market size is that even if the coverage is not always 100%. So you take the really maximum usage you think. For example, it's like mobile phones. 40 million, like in Germany, there are 80 million people, but not everyone will get one smartphone. So perhaps you think that 10%, 8 million will not get a market, but in the end you think in the end, yeah, but perhaps other people will have two. So you can think of the future market size. It can be in the first time bigger than the potential size or smaller if the coverage is not 100%. And what you're interested in is the market development, and then you can make a market categorization. That's really important. I will talk about it now, because take for example, you say like your market has 10 people and you think that the average price will be 10 euros. So all potential users could be applied for 100 euros. Today market is like one user is using an application and it's like 10 euros. So the price is 10. So in 5 years there will be 8 users, 80% will use it, 2 will not use it. So 80% is the thing. So the market growth in 5 years will be from 10 to 18 euros. So that's the thing. And now you can think about, is this a non-existing market, so nobody uses it, or one is like nobody uses it, is something emerging, so the first 5-6% are using it, or is it like already growing, the majority have understood it's a really good thing and start to use it in full development. So for example, why it's important, because if you think of the different market sizes, what you can really do is think of your strategy, because like a full developed market is like different. It's like today with the mobile phones, smartphones. Everybody already who wants a smartphone has one, so the competition is a different one. You have really to put out a really new smartphone is different than the others, or you compete in something different, and different because you want to that people that already have smartphones use now your smartphone, so you have win them back from competitors a lot of more difficult. The other thing is a growing market. The growing market is like you have 10 or 20% of the early adopters using it, but now is beginning the really high growth. And this is like something in Germany with Netflix and video on demand, because till now or till last year only like the early adopters used it, and now it's really beginning to grow. So you know your major growth will not be by winning customers back from your competitors, but more winning the people that are not using it and now want to use it. So this is something. Emerging is like, okay, you're here competing for the early adopters, and you have a strategy that is waiting still 5 or 6 years in advance till the growing part begins. And not existing, you're a different thing. You're even farther away, perhaps 10 or 12 years from the market growth. And the first thing you have to do is like enabling the changing the mindset of the people, that the product and the thing you want to offer is really necessary. So in our example, it's really easy. I start with Munich only. It's easier because I think Munich has 2 million people, 1 million perhaps in the time that they're really working. And of this 1 million people, and perhaps with the students, everything, only like a small potentials are like product managers, UX, or students in this case. So I think 20,000, and what I mean 20,000 frequent visitors, users that will use this tool more often than once. But still there will be a lot of users, because I think opening an application will be something like a sport in the next years. So everybody wants to make some money with the application, or they think about it, and then they want to make a first application, use our tool one time, and then perhaps the next time after 6 or 7 years. So it's like more like a one-time usage. So these are the things. I think currently in the market in Munich only 500 users that are using already this digital tools. Why? Because I experienced a lot of things. I was in a lot of companies for product management and talked to a lot of people, and I really didn't saw a lot of people using such tools, and heard only of some 2 or 3. So I think it's really, we're really in the beginning. But what I think later we will have like perhaps 20,000 euro of this people, a small potential will use a tool, the others will draw it like anytime on paper, and 15,000 of the 20 frequent users will use some tool more often. So this is the maximum size. So I think we're an emerging state. In between the growing, I think next year or the next 2 years we will start to be growing, and then after 5-6 years we will have a full development. So it took me only like 10 minutes to think about it. It gives me some more understanding in which part am I, and you see how quick and good it can be. But still, if I see new information, I can anytime adapt it, change it, and adapt if I need it. So after this, I want now to go to the goals, because now we have a first long way. We've thought about the competitors, the technological standards. We thought about our customers. And now I want to talk about goals. So what are the goals? Because we can already take them already from the idea evaluation, like you thought, like you can remember, we had the financial goals, users, and altruistic goals, company, personal goals. And what we also want to do is like go more inside and deeply. So how we do it? The first thing, like we done it a lot of times here, we have to order them and see which goals. Which order, what you do, take the first 3 or 4 goals that are really important, and perhaps you have defined a lot of other goals, but in the beginning for that it's much easier for you to forget them. So in the beginning, start with the first 3 goals, and if you're enlarging after some time, it may improve your concept. You can add some goals, but I think in the beginning, the first 3 that you think is the most important, take them. Then try to describe them. I know in the beginning a lot of people are making goals or generating goals and are really broad and like gain know-how, be successful and something like that, but that are not goals. So you have really to describe what does success mean, and really in terms, and this is important for the next step, in terms that you can add a value, something that you really can measure in this perspective. So describe them, try to avoid things like gain know-how, be successful, and replace them by really hard facts like revenue, like customer growth, like usage, like articles spent, or like transactions done, and something like that, to have a real good value of that. Or like a timeline, I want to finish this application in 6 months, something like that. That will help you a lot. So if you have these values, give them values, be really operative. It will help you to measure them and see how really good is your effort. Because I think this is the major thing about the goals. After what happens, people work, and after 1 year, they look back and see their success, but they are not sure, is it like something achieved good or not? How are my expectations? But if you from the first time you say, this is what I expect in 1 year, it's easier for you after 3 months to see, am I on the right way? Am I not? What is after 6 months? Adjust if necessary, and after 1 year have a better conclusion if you're succeeded or if not. And if you're not succeeded and not reaching your goals, you will have a better understanding why you didn't achieve it, and it's much more easier to decide if you want to go on or stop the process. Can also happen, and stop it and say, okay, this is not working out, let's start with something new. So what I all want to say is there are some value types of goals that are that are more like primary goals and advanced goals, and they have like sub goals. So for example, if you say I want to reach revenue 100 euros, so this is more perhaps like a main goal that has sub goals, because to have revenue you have to first perhaps users, like 10,000 users. Every user has to spend 10 euros. So you see that your major goals you're targeting, you can really do something about, is the number of users and the number of customers, but not the revenue itself. So this is the goals. You have to understand that you're targeting these 2 goals to achieve this and not this, because a lot of people make the mistake. They're going on and say, I want revenue, and after 2 months they see I don't reach it and don't understand why not. because revenue is also something, and there can be other goals that have sub goals that you can target and you can really influence, and the other you cannot influence. So in the end, you have already to give them also a time dimension, because with this time dimension you really have a better overview, because not all goals are achievable in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So you make a plan, like a little overview, and you really know what to achieve after 6 months, 1 year, and so on and so on. So in my example, I want to give you a slide. Okay, I had this three goals, and the other were not so important, like improve my work, do not spend more than 12,000 euros, and gain know-how. So I described them. Improve work means for me, for requirements, I only use paper and PPT in 10% of my cases. That's the goal I want to achieve. So in future, if I use this tool, I only need perhaps some adjustments or some first ideas that I draw on paper, on PowerPoint, but in the other cases, I'm really relying on this tool. If I'm not achieving this, then the whole tool is not good for me. I'm quicker than before. It's also important. It's not improving my work if I have to use double time to do this. So I have already to be quicker than before. And it has also to lead me to less misunderstanding. So what are the values? Like I said, all mockup tools are done with this tool, except of 10% that I need, 20% less time in drawing. This is more like something I set it for it, but I will have a good feeling how much it is. 10% less adjustment with the developers. They will understand it much more easier. I have less to upload new things. And I only added this for information, improve work, not for me, but also for 20 users, but that a little bit later. You can see in this case, I don't have any sub goals. There are really things I can address directly, I think, in my opinion. And I don't have such a big time thing, but after 6 months, so after 3 months or 2 months, the application will be ready. And then I want to retest it and make the usage so good that after 6 months I can really use it and achieve all my goals. But after 2 years I wanted 20 users. So you can see the first 6 months is adapted for me, 6 to 7, 8 months use it, and then 2 years some campaigns, advertising to reach out to get the other users. So for the other thing, I do not want to spend more than 12,000 euros. I thought, what does it mean? So I have a marketing budget, a development budget, adjustment budget, and these are the things I want to do in 2 years. So maximum of 2,000, 8,000, 2,000, and this is like after 2 years a cost capping of 1,000. I think that's a major goal, and this is the most difficult thing to think about the goals, because understanding of the usage, what does it means really, graphic UX. So this is like something, it's more like a non-quantitative value. There are no values, but I think it's a more yes, no. I will dig in with the developers, with my team in this, and if we build this, and this, I think this is perhaps the value we have to build it, and if we build it, we have some better understanding, and we can perhaps use it after 3 or 4 months in other applications. So that's the thing. Perhaps it's this, I should rather write not only understanding, but use this technology in other things, and then this is a better understanding. I think I will rewrite it. You can see it. I will now really rewrite it and write in the future to the major thing. The goal is like gain know-how means to use that what you've already built here in other application. You can see it's always an improving process. So after this, I want to talk about values and image. This will help you to deal in future with advertising, branding, but also how you develop your business and what are your risks. So I want to stress this out, because you have in your point will have decisions about many things, and have values and standards, and your image inside will always help you to think of 2 equal decisions and choose the better one for you that's fitting to your values and your things. I think it's not really hard to do it, because what you do is like think about companies you like, write them down, what you like about them, how do you see yourself, what are the values and guidelines you can extract from it, and what's the image of your companies. You have one, so the upper border of your image and values, and you can also define the download border. So what are companies that you really hate, what do you hate about them, why do you hate them, how do you not see yourself, what are values you not want to have, and what's the weight image. And so you have like a corridor in between a high value and a low value, and in between you try to make decisions. So in my example, it took me like 10 minutes. I really like Bosch. We all like them. It's a hidden champion. It's really cool because they're innovative, but they're not like extroverted like Apple perhaps, and not in this image thing. You can know if Bosch is doing something, it's really innovative, it's a good company, but still it's really an innovator, and it's modest. So this is the thing I want to see myself: be modest, open, innovative, but like a hidden champion, not so bragging about it. What I don't want to make is like I said, the opposite. Surely image focused companies, not to make show off, not overselling, be confident in what I do, and not have the application thing to over advertising, like if you use this application it would change your life. It's not something I want to have to do. So it's, you see, it's like 10 minutes and you have a better understanding how you want to deal with it. So you see, after 1 hour we've already done all this competitors, technology, innovation stuff. You have a lot of information. Now we can dig in on the application view, and you can see how much better informed you are to use these things. So let's start with the problem. So we always had in this idea evaluation our problem. So what we're now trying to do is check our customer base. We divided them in different groups, and now we try to apply the problem. So we see problem 1 is like for everybody, problem 2 is like only for them, 3 for them, problem for them, and add some problems. And problems, I mean always like problems they have in their environment, in their working. So this will do, and in the end you use it and check your what are the most important customer groups for you, and what are most important problems for them, and raise them. It's most important. It's not only important that the problem is applying to everybody. It's also important to think about, is this problem for all groups really relevant? If it's not relevant, but it's only applying, like perhaps problem 5 could be, then it's not something you should order high. So think of the first thing: is it really relevant for my customer groups, for which? And if it's really high relevant and it's really applying to a lot of your groups, then rank it high, and in the other case rank the other. So you have, in this example, we have a good overview. So like I did 30 minutes for my things, I thought, okay, nobody understands me is one problem perhaps for everybody. It's really high because if you do mock-ups, you have a lot of explaining to explain your idea, why you did this, and people are always bragging you, but yeah, but why didn't you put this there, and I don't understand it. This is a really big problem. You have also fear that your data is ripped off, especially for startups. You don't have much money to buy something. You have fear of data rip off also here because it's sensible data. And what the problem is with the current project is, like, if you start with something new, and this is something why my competitors are always there. It's one of my problems I had also. I think everybody's, if you start and later all my projects are deleted before finished, because they're all like 30-day trials. So if you think of the situation that the hobbies developing startups are making their mockups in 2, 3, 4 months, then you start, invest some time, and after 30 days they delete it, you never find it. So it's not a good thing. You always have to have 3 tools, because if you use this for mockups, you still text files, PPT. So it's a lot of messing, transform drawing, because still as a developer student you start perhaps with writing something and then you want to transfer it. It's also additional work, you don't want to do it. Lose time understanding first the tools, also a big barrier. I have to now first focus 2 hours and perhaps I write it down, it's much more quicker. Not able to work it with a tablet, perhaps you have only to work on a PC. How to do it for my first mockups efficient, so you don't have much experience with this. So you're losing classified data is perhaps something only for the freelancers, always switching between different environments for both of them. Not enough elements, is too simple for the freelancers, and seldom usage for those 2 groups, and frequent usage is a problem for those groups. So these are the things I think, and what I did, I really had this ordering, and I thought, for me, nobody understands me, fear of data rid of, quit before end, handle multiple tools, transfer, and hard to use. These are the problems I will focus on. And what you do if you have those problems, you're now doing and trying to think of solutions. And solutions are interesting because one solution can apply for 2 problems, and you have to think of the solution. In this case, you will see perhaps sometimes the solutions only like rephrasing the sense like nobody understands me, make a solution that makes the people understandable what they're drawing and the mockup they're using. So use this. So but other things can be a different thing, like all in one. Like I have to have multiple tools, put all the free functionalities like text, imaging and drawing in one tool. This is something different. This is really a solution. So you can see you try to think of the problems, the solutions, and write them down in an order. It took me like 5 minutes. So what we now try to do, if we have our problems, we have our solutions, we think about unique selling proposition. What is the difference between a solution and a unique selling proposition? A solution is something that helps your user, but a unique selling proposition is more. It's like not only it enables it to stand out from your competitors, and it's meaningful to a consumer. So till now we only thought of things that are meaningful to your consumers, and now what we'll also want to think of is it really helping me to stand out from my competitors? And if you have both tools together in one solution, then you have your unique selling proposition. So let's start with here. So you take all the things, solutions that the competitors has, and you check on them and check, okay, are they important? If yes, then you always have to copy them also. If they're and perhaps also try to improve them if they're very important. If they're important, copy them, and if they're not important, think about leaving them. It can also be an advantage for you to perhaps copy the whole thing that your competitor has, but as you're the next person, you can say drop 30% of the features because nobody uses them, and it makes the application much more easier, and so you have a better product than a competitor. But also you have to think about your things, and here are the solutions in this field that only you have, and these are the USPs. And you have to rank also them, because the most important is how many customers is it really really important. I mean, if it's unique and nobody cares about, it's not important. So this is the one. And which one are the most important for you to for your most important customers? So these are the things the things you have to check for your solutions. Is it really important for everybody? And if it's not really important, it's perhaps really important for my important customer group, and then you can do it. And I want to stress this out. It's not about quantity. It's not about having here 20 solutions, but quality. It's if we have one solution. The best example is really Dyson. I mean, a vacuum cleaner, the most important thing is you don't have to change your bags. It's a really major killing solution. It's a USP, and they did it, and so they changed the whole market, and it was one major thing. I know they done a lot of other design and so on, but still that's the major purpose, and it's enough. If you have one killer USP, it's enough to do it, and you don't have to have 20. So put them in, order them, and go on. So in my thing, I needed only 5 minutes because I check the competitors, and everybody's having an easy to use, working with tablet, different hardware, advanced setting, they have it all. So this is something that I can think, if I have to use it, easy to use, I have to copy. Working for tablet, perhaps not. Different hardware, I have to copy that, and advanced setting, perhaps not. So you can see, I can decide if I use it or not. Understandable. So all the competitors tools are really good, also helping to understand better your mock-up idea, but the problem is they're not so focused on the storytelling about this. They're more focusing on trying to have a share, to share your application. So teamwork is advertised, and not so much the thing to picture yourself and to draw it. So this is something, they have it as a function, but I think they're not publishing as much. And other things that's perhaps only mine is like, you don't have to register to use it. You can work as long as you want. You can keep it unregistered if you want for 3 years, no problem. You will have all in one, text, mockups, everything in one. You will have a transfer to upload your pictures in the system and to use it to draw something new. You will have examples and templates that guide you also through doing this, and you will have the possibility to save all you've done on your hardware, so you don't have to save it to the cloud. And I think these are things that only mine and can distinguish my product. So and when we have done this, we take our problems and USPs, and these are, for example, this we identified in solutions, and what we try is read evaluate our idea and check if it's really still that what's said. So for example, in my example, it took me 10 minutes because this was the problems I had, and also the USPs. I always triggered it, and what I did, I put them in the USPs as a solution. So my USPs are no registration and free usage, keep it as long as you want, add text description and export to PPT and Word. Did this already, but the text description that you can add in different things, save on a desktop are from this desktop. Unique features that are also in this are more like if you uploaded your pictures and data to transfer to mockups, there will be something like a draw over upload. So this is something that could also be unique, but I'm not sure if it's really a USP. Unique, it can be unique, but I'm not sure if it's really good for the, really important for the people. So a must-have is element library, online and browse, share it and make ID understandable. I think everybody has it, but like I will focus more on this as a storytelling point. And unique features, I'm not sure if I'm really building it in like make own elements and show them and enter a template base. This is something I have to evaluate still. So I want to make one last example only to make it clear for you, because it's a really important concept and you may be still like, oh my god, what is the difference again between problem, solution, unique selling point and feature? And I want to give you a still example. Think about old MP3 players 10, 15 years ago. The main competition about them, because you had a phone and the phone was not capable of playing your music so good. So you had MP3 players, and the most competition was like how many gigabyte for less price. So this was the major competition. You get for $50, you get like 8 gigabyte, 2,000 songs, 2 million songs on, and this was the competition of the major market. But the people of Apple understood, hey, it's a nice product, but customer care also about style. So the problem of the customer is not only how much songs do I get on this, but because especially not technic affine people, but more the problem I want to be cool. So the USP was to make an MP3 player that is really stylish and still based on the same technical standards, perhaps a little bit better, that are available now. And what they did, and this is the difference. So this is like the problem, the solutions make a stylish one, and the functionalities have to support this USP to be stylish. And how did they do this? They do it by a better design. They did it by doing a new innovative wheel here, but mostly the design, and it was a lot bigger and expensive. So also think about, you spend $300 on something that's so small that nobody sees. No, that's not good. If you have a cool design, it's expensive. Everyone wants to be too cool, and cool is like having new expensive stuff. And they did it. So they did not have a competition with all still the buyers of the MP3 players that are buying the low price things. That were not a competition, but they took perhaps 30 or 40% of the market of all the people that said, okay, I'm not so price sensitive, but to have storage and to be cool, it's much more important to be cheap and have more storage. So they really made the difference. So you can see how it's the difference between having a customer problem, I want to be cool, having a solution, make a stylish product, and design features that are really contributing. So all this is contributing to the thing stylish. It's one concept, and that's why it worked. So now we talked a lot about different things, and you know how to build your application to be different from your competitors. But that's not all, because being different is one thing, but you also always, like I said with the Tesla earlier, the Tesla example, it's not enough to have an electric car, it still has to have wheels. So wheels are something that you have to think. So thinking about the process is not only now thinking about the things, the functionalities that make you different, but think also of all the functionalities you will have to build to have a fully working application. So we want to say to first take advantage and see what processes are there, and when we understand what processes are there, to see the functionality. So how to identify all the processes that I need. For this, there are application related processes and additional processes. Application related processes are all the processes that are focused in the usage. So what would you have to make a mind switch? you think of yourself as a user, and what does the user, what does she or he has to do to really use the application. And these are some suggestions. They can be different, but in many cases they have to access it, they have perhaps something to search, like for example, like you have something like an e-commerce, you're selling shoes, like search for the shoes, select the shoes, comparison of the shoes, and then the usage. So then I want to buy it. You can see of all these processes, like an e-commerce shop, the major thing is selling products. But major things, 80% of the processes are not about buying really the shoes, but more about searching, seeing, comparing, and then buying, rather than only buying. Then you have the data fill up, the payment processes, after sale process, and so on, so on, so on. And in the end, cancellation, log off, log out, sell it, destroy my account, whatever. These are some of the application related things, but also you have additional processes you have to think of. Help, what somebody does not understand it. Turn to a person, turn to an email, turn to a help section. What about complaints? What about problems? What about advertising, maintenance? Also processes. What are the updates? What are perhaps some changes, error things, and fraud? What are the people using it wrongly and not how we want to use it? So this is a process you can think of, and if you think all of these processes, you can derive from them the functionalities and also the strategy how to deal in future with your application. So here the main processes are, like I said, for example, driving a car. Where is it parked is like the first thing, search for the car. Then the second is selection, like open and navigation is a process. Usage, then you can see driving the car is one part, because you've already searched where it is parked, you've already opened it, go in, thought about the navigation, driving a car. Then about driving is like left and right and gas and brake. And you can see if you process everything, you can think of a lot of functionalities you can build in your application that's perhaps needed. Perhaps if car manufacturers have thought a little bit more in the last years like this, they have already perhaps bring out an application that helps you to find every time your car, and not 5 years or 10 years after mobile is really advanced. So something like that. Access your car can be a major process, like buying a car online, offline. Maintenance is a process, repairing a car, cancellation, selling a car. You can see all these processes that you think of as a user will help you later to define the applications and the features and the functionalities you have to build. So in my case, it took me like 30 minutes, and the main process for me is the usage. So what main process is the usage? Then I have a start process for me, and I have the usage of the templates, library elements, and the usage of secure code for download. So this major things I thought of as a major thing, but what are additional processes that I have to figure out? So in this main process, like entering a project room, and then manage the projects, delete them, and so on. Enter project screen and start drawing, making new sites, and so on. Name giving is something. Deleting, changing sizes of elements. Begin to describe all, like this said. You have now made the mock-ups how you describe them, where to put it, and then define an order between sites and text, so you can see and export everything. These are the main processes that I have to think of all the features for them. And there are also processes for the starting process. What's the difference for somebody here? My mindset was somebody already was registered and starting it over and over again. What is with somebody who's the first time on the site? Is it going directly to the USPs or a description site, or how is the beginning? And there are different processes also for user templates and so on and so on. And this all I defined for me in 30 minutes. And now from these processes, I can start and think of every process as a single. And from every process, I can derive all the necessary functionalities. So what are functionalities? Functionalities are more like the parts to enable the process to perform. So like I said, the process, you want to drive a car, but to drive a car you have to have parts. You have to have a pedal, you have to have some seats, and so on and so on. And this is perhaps the solution. And one thing I want to ask, talk to you, if you think about the solution, about the functionalities, you have to think about more broader also, because don't narrow it down. I have to, the example is, if you think about, you want to, for the process again, like a car, you want to drive a car, you have to start a car. So the process starting a car, but you have different features. So you can have a start by button, start by fingerprint, start by pressing. So you can see how the functionalities in the end can differ to achieve this whole thing to start a car. So you need a starter is the functionality, but it's still enough high level to give you more options later. So the tip is try to make the functionalities more high level to later have to in really important functionalities to choose between costs, usability of different solutions you can use for your application. So like I said, we had this processes defined, like for the MVP process 1.4, and what we're now trying to check process 1, like here we're checking here this main process, entering the project room and doing stuffing, and this process we're now deriving like the functionalities. For this process 4 we're deriving the functionalities, and at the end what you're doing, we order them also by importance, high, low, high, middle, low, and so understand better what functionalities are part. So we have like 2 MVP states. First the MVPs of the process, and then taking this and making an MVP of all the functionalities that are really used. And in my example, what I did the same. So I take the start process and thought about the start process and thought of all the buttons I have to use to do it. So start function to open page and room, free buttons, help section, secure code button, info buttons for secure code. And you can see a lot from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2, 4, 5 processes. These are all the buttons and features I have to add in and think about in the next step in the requirements stage. So like we did, we now had our processes, we thought about the functionalities, and what we now do is like decide in this whole thing what functionalities, sorry, this is a little mistake, so it's not about the process, but take the processes and think about the functionality 1 and so on, and 2 and 3 and 4 and the other ones that we will not use. So that's the thing we want to do now, is like know the MVPs, and this is the thing we're building, and this is the thing we're not building, because we already thought about USP processes, REST process, and we know everything about it. So you can see how much value we took from all this by thinking of the market first, then using the market information to improve our application process and functionalities, and with all this information now we can come to the business view, resources, name, logo, and so on. So what are the resources that you need? And the resources are really I want to change this, sorry. So the things is like you're talking about components and technology, and what you have to think is like, what are the processes I have to maintain, what are the users, what have they to use to get to the processes, what is the software behind it, what's the components, the technology. And for example, if you have the main application, you have to think, okay, is the user using a laptop, Chrome, IE, Edge, Handy, apps, which version of the Handy? Are they using perhaps iOS or something? Are you using apps, Android? What software? A web application, a download application, whatever? And what are the components? So, for example, a web application is front and back end database and so on, and which is technology in the end. Java, PHP, Salesforce, Oracle, whatever. So this is coming from your idea to think how the user will access, what software is needed, what are the parts of the components, what technology, and then you know what to build. So for example, I have the main application, but also have perhaps a homepage. So how is the user entering the homepage? Yeah, by laptop and Handy, but not as an application for a Handy, but also responsive. Software can be a web application, can be front and back end database, can be also PHP, HTML, Salesforce, WordPress. So you can see, and what you also have to think about in the components technology is the size of your solution, because how many users are using the app in the same time? I mean, it's a different if they're using it like 5,000 users in the same minute or like 5 users in the same minute. So you can see the difference. You have to think of what are the uploads and download size, what are the opening speed, what are some calculation that you perhaps want to make. All of this will influence design and the components you have to do it. So in my example, it's really easy, because think of the main application. They will deal, I think, in the beginning with the laptop. It's browser. I will do it especially on Chrome because it's much more easier. It will have front and back end database, and I think Angular, Java, and MySQL are the technologies I will use. For the homepage, I will take WordPress because it's responsive. It's also used for browser and will have database and frontend and database in one thing. So WordPress will it be on a PHP technology. So I think there will be like maximum of 5 users in the same time. Uploads and downloads of 3 up to 10 MBs, like size, site opening, and calculation speed has to be real time. You have to draw and do it really fluently. That's the major thing. So now we're coming to the most exciting one, name. So a lot of people have their item and they already start with their name. I think it's nice and it's really good for the motivation, but if you think about, the best thing is if you have all this information, problems, unique selling points, functionalities, goals, values, and images, customers, it's much more easier to start with the idea collection, because think of that, the name should in somehow rely and have a link to your concept. It's much more easier. So what you can do for names, you can have describing names, names with numbers, numbers only, imaginative names, foreign names, and so on. But like I said, even it's something like Google, that's a new word in this. Even Google was related. I think it's a number. It's a name for a number that was used to represent the company. And it has a really good linkage to the concept of the thing. Use it like this. And think of first all this concept stuff and give you the chance to have a really better name. And after the long list, you make a short list. And then the most important for the short list, think about the 3 domains. I mean, it's nothing if you came up with a good name, you thought about it, then try to take the first 3 domain and see, hey, this domain take the free domain and it's already then. So check the domains, change the name, check for meaning, check for if it's free via Google, if perhaps some other company has no domain but it's using the same name. And it's an interactive thing. You think of the name, check domain, check meaning, and so you go on and go on. So we have the name, and I want only to show you, like, I thought like 30 minutes of my name. I think it's even not so much, because like when I started with the idea collection along this, I thought of a little thing. So I thought like free draw, mock-up, wireframe, digital wireframe mock-up, wireframe tool, just work wireframes, do not bother wireframes, start mock-ups, all-in-one mock-ups, save mock-ups, Gojo, Mojo frames, frame start, and frame star. And really, it didn't took me a long to get to this, and I think FrameStar is really not bad, because it also has a linkage to our Space Shoot tracking software. And FrameStart, I don't like it, but FrameStar is something nice. So I think FrameStar, and this was a no-brainer, really quick, but sometimes it takes you days to think about it. I mean, not literally 20 hours, but you think half an hour, then later you have some ideas, you talk with other people and get some additional things. So based on this, on the name now and all things, you can think of the logo. And think of the possibilities is like, a logo can be a name logo, like Google can be an icon plus a name logo. Microsoft is all like this little icon and a name. And it can perhaps only be an icon logo, like BMW, they have only like this round logo. So there are different types of logos. You can think of different stories, but what you should do if you do your brainstorming, take this into account, but think also about all the things you have here. So what I suggest, try to select the most valued USP and picture it, like from your values or from your unique solution points, like perhaps freedom. Then think of pictures that might show this: bird, child, smoking in a desert. It's all perhaps pictures for freedom. And then try to visualize it and to add it in your logo, to do it. And then you select your logo and you do this like a process. It's perhaps not you doing, perhaps something from a graphic design, but some graphician or somebody who's a designer will find it much more easier if you tell him, hey, I want to have a logo with this concept. It's more about freedom. Take something like a bird and child and build it in, or something like that. It's much more easier to give you like a long list. You have then to think of a short list. So in my example, like I thought in this first place something like frame star, so frame and a star and perhaps different pictures. I will give it to my designer, and then if I got the solution, I will give it back to you, as you can see. So Now we thought of the name, we thought of the logo, so we have some first visualization. Now we're talking about our advertising team, and an advertising team is really important. Why it's important? Because everybody will ask you why you do this, and it's not like then somebody, your investor, users, etc., and you have to put in all your adverse materials. It's not about then, oh, okay, bumbling, yeah, sure, I'm not sure, or so. In one sentence, you have to describe what it's all about. And if you can do this in one slogan, it's the best thing you can do. So you always start with the unique selling points. So you think of unique selling points of the problem, and you say, based on your advertising story, based on the one to few major advantages, and tell it consistently of all channels. So that's the most point. You focus on some problems, on some USPs. You take these USPs, you put them in your advertising, and you're not talking in Google AdWords about your USP 1 and in personal USP 3. People will not understand it. So you always repeat consistently everything the same way, because if people hear it the first time, they will not memorize it. They need 3 or 4 attempts to really understand what's about this, especially if it's a new technology or a new application. So then you take this and make a story and a visualization. You have many approaches. You can start with the problem to a solution to a USP. You can USP and solution together. You can have a vision. It's not important. The most important goal is to make a story. So here you have a USP, like perhaps for Tesla, I have the USP is having an electromotor with the battery. But that's not the story. The story is like, you don't want to pollute your environment, still have a really modern and cool car that is really fancy. So take our car, because it has electromotor, is different, it's really expensive, and so on. You can see the difference between then the story and only have the list of USPs. And what you then try to do is like put everything in one slogan. Because with one slogan is the visualization, make slogan based on the most valued USP or your vision, and it really in one sentence gives everything you have to. And I think Duracell is a really cool example of this. Is like, keep going. So no matter how you think of Duracell, of the batteries, you will always know, aha, Duracell are those that keep going. They're all lasting longer. So it's okay that they're a little bit more expensive, because they keep going. I mean, it's not important that perhaps the others are also long, but this suggestion gives us something. Okay, if I trust them, they perhaps really have managed to make it lasting longer than other batteries, and it's really cool. So you can see this thing. So for my example, I took all my unique selling points here at the one side, looked at them and tried to make a story, and the story was like problem, solution, USP. And what I wanted to say is like, you have an idea, and what you now, you have an idea, and what now? So you want to tell it, you want to scribble it, but nobody understands you. And I think that's a major problem. So you're so excited about your thing, you scribble it, you do it, and then you give it to somebody, and somebody asks, I don't understand this, I don't understand, that's a problem, why? And what you really want is, you want to, in an easy way, to picture your idea, and that's the solution. So picture your idea with Framestar. No registration, free and unlimited usages, all in one. Mockup, text, save, and color. And I think that's my story. Hey, do you have an idea? You want to be rich, you want to have an app, and now you want to tell it, you want to scribble it, you want to show it everybody understands, but nobody understands you. But nobody understands you. So how you can do it? You use Framestar. With Framestar, you can really easy picture your idea for others and be successful. And on top of this, you have no registration, free and unlimited use, and so on. And you can see how it's easy. And my slogan is, you have an app idea, picture your idea, Framestar. That's it. It's not about sharing things. It's implicit. Sharing your ideas is implicit in a wireframe tool. But the thing I want to tell people is, picture your idea. It's nothing more easy than with Framestar. You can do it with other things, but it will be not understandable. You have an idea, picture it, your idea, use Framestar. So that's my slogan. Perhaps you don't like it, but for me, I think it's okay now. So now when we've all done all this, so we are now really having a good side of our business, we have to start and think about the finance things. And the finance things, we start with the revenue drivers. So the revenue drivers, you can think of revenue drivers as we have to think about the financial drivers. Sorry, we have to think about the the revenue drivers, it's not a little, we don't have to think, but we have to think about the financial drivers. Sorry, it's a little mistake here. So let's go back. So about financial drivers, why we have to think about financial drivers? Because we want later to build our business case and have a better decision, and want to understand what is necessary to drive our business, because you have different phases, and the first phase you're starting with stage is like initial and setup and development, initial setup and development. And this phase is like you're building application, you have no revenue, so it's take you a little time to go live. So what you will have to do, you have even to have time, or you have money investment prepared to build your app. The second stage is advertising. It's already also no revenue, but you get additional spending, and a lot of additional spending, because building is one costly thing, an application, but really advertising, it's much more costly. So you have to think of, you're invested here, but here you have perhaps to invest a little bit more, and also in the same time checking about getting the sufficient users, so how they're reacting, improve your advertising, check if story is okay, and so on, and adapt it here to check if it's really the best rate you can win users. Then the next phase is you have the first users, you have to deal with them. So you're getting first revenues, but they're not sufficient to maintain your business, and also you have to prove your concept. Adjustments costing you also money. So your building costs money, then you start with advertising cost money, and then you have to adjust everything, cost additional money. So you see how the costs are rising till you come to this. And then you start with the growth, first revenues, but still negative, and then after this you have to break even. So you see, you have to have all the investment to get to this 4 phases until to start make money and then repay it. And this is something we will think of, and we think first of the cost drivers, and like I said, like initial company, developing, advertising, and other stages. The first thing you have to think about is like your manpower, our opportunity cost. So you investing time is also something you're losing money, because you could rather be on a vacation, or you can use your time and work somewhere else for like 10 euros an hour and gain additional commission. So your manpower is always costly, and your manpower is needed all through the whole process. So you will lose this, and that's opportunity cost. Think of it. Also, you have opportunity cost of your money. If you invest like 10,000 euros, 20,000 euros, you could use this money, put it on a bank account, or put it in some stocks, and then have an outcome out of them. It's also money you will losing. So this is something you have to take in account for the whole time. But also for initial start, you will have material costs, studies, research, perhaps advertising, travel, and other expenses that you have to take in account. For your company stage, you will have to think, what are my setup companies? What are taxes that I have to do? Tax helpers, phone bills, insurance, office supply, hardware, laptop, credit, interests, shareholder interests, closing costs, all the costs you have to apply and think of with the application. You have the developing costs, developers, servers, license, hardware, maintenance, support, upgrading. You will have advertising costs like name and a designer for name and logo, marketing material, flyers, banners, YouTube videos, well, channel fees, AdWords, TV, paper, sales people perhaps, and key accounting people, all advertising costs. And other costs like support costs, people in a support line helping you, or building a support page, legal advisory like for contracts, imprints, terms, trials, closing down everything, and admin costs, team assistant, travel expense, and so on. These are all the costs in different stages. You have to account for it. So in my example, it's really easy, because I think about 20 days in all the things. It's not a lot of things. I think of 12,000 euros. I will not have a lot of costs. Expect the application setup costs like the 12,000 euros. Company costs I don't have, because I already have a company. I already have developers, so I only have to think about how much will it cost, the server hosting, the developers, the maintenance, some upgrading. Yeah, I have to think about the name and the logo, the marketing materials, and the channels I want to use. I will not use salespeople or key accounting for my wireframe tool. And I have also think about legal things and support. So that's my cost drivers for the my application that I have in the next video, or one of the next videos to think about in the business case. So now with the what are the revenue drivers? And before we start with the revenue drivers, yeah, think about the revenue. That's important. But I will show you some models or some price types or revenue models, revenue types you can use. But think always of that. If you think of revenue, think in the same time of costs for customer acquisition, because different models or different types of revenue models are giving you are increasing the cost for customer acquisition. So this is something you have to think of. For example, if you give if you make your application totally free, it's really cool. You will not gain a lot of revenue, nothing, but in the end it will be much more easier for customers to use it because it's free. If you use donation, it's perhaps a little bit more costly for the customers if you have if they have a bad feeling about using you without donating, but you can get some donation but without raising a lot of the costs. Advertising is different. I mean, you can raise your revenue, but advertising will lead that some customer groups are not participating because they get bothered about the advertising. Oh, all this advertising, I get bothered, it's really annoying, so they will not use your application. So you can see how the different revenue models will lead not only to an impact on your revenue but also on your cost for customer acquisition. Pay with data. You don't make advertising, but you say you have to register and give them some data to use the application. Sponsoring. Perhaps you have the wrong sponsors. The RRS or somebody selling tanks, some lobbyist groups or something, and people can get annoyed of this. Sell the whole application perhaps in the end as something you will get revenue, but only later, not now. But it's also like not big cost for the customers, but perhaps they anticipate it and know, oh, in some days they will sell it and then I have to pay for something. And at the end you have different price models, and price models are getting your revenue, but also is a major obstacle for people to use it, because if they're not 100% sure they want it and they need it, they will not pay you for something. So you have monthly fees, pay per user, pay different feature sets. And that's the thing that people try, or companies try to do. First 30 days free, use only a free basic version, buy the whole application. There are some things you can think about it. Price discrimination for students, private, for us commercial, company size, and the timing. You want to use these price models on an hour base, day base, month base, year base. So you can think of all these pricing models and think of all these models, how they affect. Like I said, pay per use per month is like a high obstacle in the beginning. What they're doing like a first 30 days and lowering the costs for the customer acquisition, because people say, okay, it's easier to give only registration, and after 30 days I can even decide if I use it or not. So you can see how this things interact. And also you combine all things. You can do advertising and pricing. You can do a lot of combinations to find your position and right mix. So in my example, I focus on advertising, so nothing for that I will do. I will do only advertising, and that's it. So like I said in the beginning, now you have your revenue, you have your cost models, but like I said, it's from the beginning you will not earn so much. So the revenue model will start later, so you have a gap that you have to fill this gap, and a need for investment, and you have to satisfy, and you have different ways. So what you can do, invest your time and money your own. I think everybody is limited to this kind of option, or you're like a millionaire. But what is the advantage? You have full control and no information duty. So it's your thing, you can rely on it. The disadvantage is really your high personal risk, and you lose double, because you lose not only time, you lose also money. And also you do not have help. You're on your own, you have no multiplier. It's really a lot more difficult, but you're full control of the solution. Then you can have friends and family invested, so you can rise the potential investment. You have still good control because they're not so interested in really going in the thing how the app is made, the application. You have lower risk, you have helpers and multipliers. But also you don't have any time the full control, because you have some information duties. They perhaps say, no, it's not good for me. And for friends and family, you have some personal problems perhaps with the whole thing if it's not successful. A team is something that you really should consider about it, because a team is like a really good help. You have somebody you can rely on it. It's not something personal, it's like business. You have lower risk, more options, additional help, better chances for investors. Important, because investors don't like so one person companies, because if they invest and you die accidentally, then everything is gone. But if you have a team, you can divide it. And this is really cool, and you have a lot of additional help because you don't have to do everything for your own. I mean, think about only about the concept. You can divide it and say you're responsible for the competitors and I'm responsible for the marketing, and then you everybody can have like a division of work. So it's really cool. And but still, then you have adjustment, and you're not 100% free. You have more effort for adjusting. This is the thing. I think that a teamwork exceeds this, but still, if you want to make your idea and it's your baby, then you have to do the first thing. Then you also have to enter entrepreneurs and crowdfunding invest. It's like lower risk, more options, additional help, but still this much higher effort, because you have first to win them, you have to convince them, and in the end you have a lot of information duties, and you're not 100% free in the decision. It's a lot more pressure than here in a team, because in a team you talk every time, you align a lot of more, and you're doing all the work. But here somebody is not working with you, investing a lot of money and trying a lot of information and response how it's working, and this can be a lot of pressure. And the last step is venture capital, a lot of money. What's the difference between entrepreneurs or people that are helping you and venture capital? It's like, here are we on a smaller size. Venture capital are not investing in you if you're really a small idea thing, because they cannot handle like only 50,000 or 20,000. They want to invest 1 million, 2 million and get for this like 40% of the share. But that means if they get for 1 million 40% of your share, that means that your application is like 2.5 or 3 million worth. And to get a worth company of 3 million, it's them. So you can't go to a venture capitalist. This is my idea. They probably will not invent. You still have to have a company that's already 3 million of value to get the additional investment. So to get through this is like have a team, start with it, have an entrepreneur, get to the first market, get this value, and then get a venture capitalist. So in my example, I wanted to say, like, I'm not going for this with Framestar. I'm not going for disinvestments. I'm trying to make it for me, so it's like 100% my control. I will do it. My team is helping me, but still, it's like more like this. So what is now important? Like we said, we with the concept, we now had a lot of information. Like we had this start, like it said from the beginning, but now we want to make a strategy, like the plan how to achieve a goal. So we defined our start. We defined already our goal, so, and all the things we need to think about the strategy, and this will summarize in the thing. And this is the thing we're now probably near the end, because we now have to think of all the start information and the goals I want. What's the strategy to it? And like I said, we have all the variables. We know the competitors, technology, the goals, the customers, the market, the USP, the financial view, and now we can put it all together and think about the strategy. And the strategy is more thing, like I said, like how's the goal, what will my goals be, we always define them, what are my customers to have to do that I can achieve this, what's the application, what's the advertising, what's the financial thing I have to do. And you're putting now everything together and thinking about the story, how you want to achieve everything. So like and this for different periods, you start with 1 year and say, okay, how want to I have achieved in 1 year? You have already done it, put it in here. Then you think about what do the customers have to do to achieve this goal. And then if you know what they have to do, you know, I have to focus to get those customers like those, the first step and so on. What's the application has to do to enable those customers? What do you have to do in advertising to get those customers? What's the financial thing for 1 year you have to maintain? And probably it's a strategy. You know, for example, in the beginning, I want the MVP to have some first insight for 100 customers. You know how to advertise it for 100 customers. You know what your finance will be, and that's a strategy. This is the strategy for the first year, and then you have a strategy for the second year. But also you have to think about it. If you put it on, you will see, if you think about all the steps, you will have feedback. So you start with your goals, put it in, think about the customers again, and then change it, and think about the application and then change it. So you see how it's working, and then you do it for middle range, and you do it for long range, and everything. It's not a problem starting with something and then readjusting if you have more information. And so you're doing. So let's take my example. So in my example, I said for the first year I want to improve my time, and I like really dedicated it and said it's like I as a customer must use it fully in my projects. So this is the thing, my strategy. Strategy is going down and already applying the full solution for me in this time, in the 6 months, like I said in the thing. And so the application must already have all the functionalities despite registration. So this is my strategy. First half year is like going for the application, working, I'm using it, improving it, and I do not need any advertising, and it will cost me 8,000 euros. That's my strategy for the first year. Strategy for the second year will, okay, I already use it, now I want to expand it. This is my expanding phase. So usage to 20 users. So I must be able to open rooms and use it in the project. So the application must be ready for some kind of registration, not registration like you're giving your username and address, but some point of giving username. So you can see how this will also add after 1 year. And then I have to start with advertising, home pages, personal recommendations, and add the 2,000 euros. So you can see after this I don't have any strategy. So you can see how easy it is then to take all the information you had already and put it in a text in one slide and say this is the steps I want to achieve. Short, middle, long run. You can do it much more, like first step getting investor, or first step getting an MVP, then with the MVP first users, with the first users getting the first small investors like my mother or my uncle or some friends, and rising 100,000 euros. Then after this increasing it, and this is nothing like a strategy. A strategy is taking all the information, put it down in a timeline and saying these are the steps I want to fulfill to gain my goals and to achieve all the things. You can see how easy it is. And so we're near the end, because now we have a really good overview over this, and we only have to think about stakeholders and legal. And what are the stakeholders? I mean, you have all the information about who you're dealing with it. And in the last slide, you only have to think about have I considered everything? And so you're going, have I considered about team members? Will I have them? Have I considered developers? Have I considered employees? Have I considered competitors, shareholders, press and public, partners, customers, state, where I'm living, legal restrictions, and perhaps people that are hating me, working against me? Have I done this? And it took me like 5 minutes. Yeah, team members, I thought of it, developers thought of it, state, customers, and everything else is not important for me. You can see how it works. And what you can take all this is like, think of the legal aspects, because in the legal aspects you have to take all the stakeholders and think of what legal implication could have your application everybody. So it's not enough going out and say, okay, my application is out and I don't have to think of legal things, terms, because I'm not using it. Only some people are using. No, if other people are affected by it, you have a homepage, you still have to think of legal things. And for example, what are customer concerns if you have them? Do you collect data? You have to inform them properly. Do you or especially if it's like personal data, names, payment information, and so on. Are you downloading, uploading on the hardware of the customer? So could you harm it? Is there some payment to do? Is the content not free for children, sex, alcohol? Is somebody relying on it? It's really a major mistake to think you provide something, and if you provided something, then after 1 year you can cancel it, because if somebody relies on it, say, hey, I built my business on your business and now you're canceling it, perhaps he can sue you. So think about it. In the terms and conditions, you have to say, hey, I'm free to cancel the business every time I want. So think of all the things. Is your data correct? Perhaps somebody's relying on it. Perhaps you make a site for temperature measuring, and you measure the wrong things, and the people making the wrong conclusions are suing you because they have some damage from it. Also, you have to think about how to protect your property. Ideas, processes, is the code or algorithm new? Can you somehow patent it? Logo and name, how to not be copied, information on your website, and so on. And also some other things with the developers, freelancer, employees, legal restrictions for working, contract obligation, know-how transfer, protecting software, and so on and so on. But the best thing is you can use every stakeholder you have written down and go by every stakeholder and check if there are some legal restrictions. So what I did, I put it on in. So for example, for my application, for a wireframe thing, for Framestar, data collection, standard, because I'm not collecting data. I will not collect email address, IP, or something like that. Only I will using AdWords, so I think I have to do some standard information about the AdWords advertising I'm doing, and the cookies that is already used by perhaps WordPress or something like that. Download, uploading on hardware, yeah, standard, but also saving of the data. I wanted people save and upload data, so I have to inform them what will happen to those uploaded data, perhaps their images, and what can happen to the download of the saving token, or that somebody can steal it and use it. So I have to inform them. Payment, no, I will not have it, so I don't have to figure about that. I will not have any content that is legal for children or alcohol or something like that. Is somebody relying on it? I have to inform the people that if they're using it, I still may not have the resources, and I can stop it anytime. So it's not they cannot rely that my solution will be on the market for 20 years. Is your data correct? Not needed, because they're putting in all the data, are paid patents and rights of other involved. No, not in, I think, in my things. Partner contracts, no. How to protect my property? Not possible, because I'm using standard things. It's not something that somebody, I think, that I can patent. I wouldn't have any algorithms. Logo, name, yeah, I think it's worthwhile thinking on it, but not in the beginning. Information on the website, no, I don't have to protect it. And all the things I already captured with my developers, because I'm working in my company with it. So you can see, after all this time, now for my example, we've already gone for this. We have a whole concept: competitors, technology, customers, goals, problems, unique selling points, application idea. Everything is adapted, and a whole real good concept to use it. And how much did it take me? I added everything. It was like 325 minutes, 5 hours and 25 minutes over 3 days to do this. So every day I invested like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and get in the end with a really cool concept that now helps me a lot to do the next step. And what is the next step? You can use all the concept like market view application to do a business case, to do information for inventors, advertising, or applications. Really cool. And before I come to the end, I want to say thank you a lot and say we're already doing concepts. Dimension is doing development, is doing advertising. We've done it for a lot of companies in Germany, taking their concepts, ideas, and making them the concepts requirements. We've done a lot of development for applications, for prototypes, for different devices and different technologies. And we've done a lot of advertising things like web pages, landing pages, pictures, flyers, and so on. We do it everything for 40 euros an hour. 40 euros an hour. So come to us, ask us if you need support for this, and we will help you in any case. So more information on dimension.de or dimension.de startup. Go look at us and contact us if you want some additional help for your development. So now with the end. So we've done the idea evolution. We're down now deeper insight with our concept in 5 hours, and now we're starting next time with the requirements, because we have now the concept, we know our app processes, we know our functionalities, and what we now want to do is the requirements. So what we want to do is like do some mock-ups or wireframes, put in down how that would be, how it's work, and have a description on every functionality and all the workflows we have to do to use it. So next step is requirements management, how we write everything down that somebody can use it and build it, and not build something that is different from what we thought of. And this because there's a real problem between the idea and then get the requirements that somebody's building it. There's a lot of things. People are writing wrong requirements, are not specifying it enough, and are surprised that they get a really different solution. So this is a really important step to have it, because you can use it then. And even if you don't have a developed MVP or prototype, if somebody sees the mockups, the description, he knows this is really good work, is professional, and have a better imagination of your solution. So what we try to do, we will check what are requirements, what for do we need them, how to describe mockups and functionalities, how detailed they must be, and what is the output, and some examples with our Framestar product. So thank you a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. You can contact us for further information or download all the presentation at Dimension.de. Don't forget to tell us if you need support, and thank you a lot for watching. Until next time, bye.